Getting rich and staying rich are not the same skill. Almost nobody teaches you the second one. Plenty of people retire with a solid nest egg and then watch it shrink anyway, year after year, without ever making one dramatic mistake. The retirees who hold on to their money aren't smarter or luckier than everyone else. At some point, they just looked at a list of things they used to buy, automatically and quietly said, "Not anymore." There are 10 purchases in particular. And what makes this list different from the usual retirement advice is that none of these 10 things look dangerous. Every one of them feels normal, even sensible, which is exactly why they quietly drain so much money from people who genuinely believed they had a solid plan. These aren't the villains you've been warned about 100 times. They're the quiet ones. Let's start with the ones sitting in almost every driveway in the country. There's a specific feeling that comes with driving a car straight off the lot, and car dealerships understand that feeling better than almost anyone. Right now, the average new vehicle in the United States costs close to $49,000. What no salesperson mentions is what happens the second you leave the parking lot. That car loses roughly 20% of its value in the first year alone. On a $49,000 vehicle, that's nearly $10,000 gone before your second payment is even due. Stretch it to 5 years, and the average new car has quietly lost about 60% of what you paid. Take a retiree named Harold, who used to trade in for a new model every 3 years simply out of habit. Once he actually sat down and calculated what those trade-ins had cost him over 2 decades, he stopped completely. Now he lets someone else absorb that first brutal drop. He waits, then buys the same model 3 or 4 years old, right after the steepest part of the depreciation curve is already behind it. Same leather seats, same smooth ride, same reliability. And he keeps tens of thousands of dollars that would have gone straight to the dealership. Wealthy retirees aren't against owning a nice car. What they refuse to do is pay full price to watch that price collapse in their own driveway. And depreciation is only half of it. A new car also costs more to insure. And if it's financed, interest is stacking on top of a shrinking asset. Harold drives a paid-off vehicle a few years old, insures it for noticeably less, and puts the difference to work in his investments instead. This one is small, which is exactly why it slips past careful people. You're buying a television or a refrigerator or a car, and right as you're paying, someone offers to protect it for a little more. It sounds responsible. The data says otherwise. Roughly 47% of vehicle owners carry an extended warranty, yet only about 1 in 10 of them ever actually use it. On appliances, researchers found the typical repair costs only about $26 more than the warranty itself would have cost. You're often paying real money to avoid a bill that barely exists on average. A retiree named Priscilla does something that sounds almost boring by comparison. Instead of buying a warranty on every object she brings home, she keeps her own repair fund sitting in a savings account. When something breaks, she pays for it from that fund and moves on. Over a lifetime of purchases, she comes out thousands of dollars ahead because she stopped insuring herself against problems that mostly never show up. And on the rare day something big does break, the money is already sitting there, earning interest the whole time instead of funding a salesperson's commission. One more trap worth knowing. On cars, that warranty often gets rolled directly into the loan, so you end up paying interest on the warranty itself for years. Priscilla learned to simply say, "No thank you," and keep that money on her own side of the table, where it can actually grow. If you want a crash course in how wealthy people think, watch how fast they walk away from this pitch. A guaranteed slice of paradise. Every year, sunshine on demand. The reality underneath the brochure is a contract that follows you around for decades. The average annual maintenance fee on a timeshare today sits somewhere around $1,500 to $1,600, and that fee never holds still. It climbs 5 to 8% every single year, whether you visit or not. Here's the part that really stings. The day you try to get out, you find out the investment you were sold is worth almost nothing on resale. A man named Desmond once sat down and added up 30 years of those steadily rising fees. It came out to enough money to buy a small house outright, money poured into a property he could never actually sell. Flip that same stream of money into a simple index fund earning around 7% a year, and it would have quietly grown into a second retirement account worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's the trade wealthy retirees refuse to make. They'd rather book the same beach whenever they feel like it, owe nobody anything, and let their money compound the other 50 weeks of the year. And the maintenance fee isn't even the whole risk. Resorts can also hit owners with a special assessment, a surprise one-time charge for repairs or storm damage that can land at hundreds or thousands of dollars with almost no warning. This one is quiet, and it's one of the biggest slow leaks on this entire list. Decades ago, with a mortgage, young kids, and a paycheck the whole household depended on, life insurance made complete sense. It existed to replace your income if something happened to you. Fast forward to today. The mortgage is paid off. The kids are grown and earning their own living. Nobody depends on that income anymore. And yet so many retirees keep paying hefty premiums on expensive cash value policies sold to them decades ago as clever investments, long after the original reason for owning them disappeared. A retiree named Foster finally asked himself an honest question: who still depends on my income if I'm gone? The answer came back plainly: nobody. So he stopped funding a policy that cost him real money every month to solve a problem he no longer had, and redirected those premiums into accounts that pay him instead of an insurer. The lesson isn't that insurance is bad, it's that wealthy retirees refuse to keep paying for protection they've already outgrown. A simpler version of this works at almost any age. Buy inexpensive term coverage while people genuinely depend on your income, invest the large difference every month, and let the coverage naturally end when the real need ends. Foster ran the numbers on his old cash value policy and realized it had been growing at a crawl while the premiums quietly drained money that could have been compounding somewhere far more useful. This might be the single most expensive habit on the entire list. It sounds harmless when someone says it out loud. Your advisor charges just 1% a year to manage your money. 1%. How much damage could a single percentage point possibly do? The honest answer is staggering, because that fee doesn't just cost you what you hand over, it costs you everything that money could have earned for the rest of your life. Here's the math. Take a $1 million portfolio earning about 7% a year. Left alone with no advisory fee, it grows to roughly $7.6 million over 30 years. Charge that same portfolio a 1% annual fee, and it grows to only about $5.7 million instead. That's nearly $1.9 million quietly given away. To be fair, some advisors genuinely earn that fee through tax strategy, estate planning, and talking clients off the ledge during a crash. But plenty of them are doing very little beyond what a simple low-cost index fund would do on its own. A retiree named Rosalind didn't fire good advice when she saw those numbers. She fired the fee. She moved her money into low-cost funds, kept a flat fee planner she only pays when she actually needs guidance, and let compounding do its job without anyone quietly skimming a slice off the top every year. That fee usually gets pulled out in small quarterly slices you can barely feel, which is exactly why it does so much damage over the decades. A number that looks tiny on paper turns out to be enormous by the finish line. This is the silent leak almost nobody estimates correctly about their own life. When researchers ask people to guess how much they spend on subscriptions each month, the average guess is around $86. Then researchers add up the actual charges hitting real bank accounts, and the true number comes in near $219 a month, a gap of well over $100 running silently on autopilot. Streaming services you forgot you signed up for, a fitness app from an old resolution, cloud storage, food delivery memberships, a free trial that quietly became a paid one. More than 40% of people openly admit they're currently paying for at least one subscription they've completely forgotten about. That $219 a month adds up to over $2,600 a year. A retiree named Genevieve sat down one afternoon and went statement by statement, canceling every service she wasn't genuinely using. She didn't give up anything she actually loved. She just stopped paying for the ghosts, then redirected that same monthly amount into her investments, where over 20 years it can quietly build into six figures on its own. Wealthy retirees audit their subscriptions like clockwork, because they learned long ago that small leaks sink big ships. It takes about 15 minutes. Pull your last 3 months of statements, find every recurring charge, and cancel anything you haven't actually used in a month. Almost everyone who does this finds at least one or two forgotten services. This one catches people off guard every time. Government spending surveys show the age group spending the most on lottery tickets and betting pools isn't broke young adults. It's people between 65 and 74, the exact group living on a fixed income that can least afford to hand money to a game they're almost certain to lose. As a country, Americans pour around $19 billion a year into the lottery alone, and there isn't a single state where the lottery pays back more to players than it collects from them. The house always wins by design. A retiree named Vernon genuinely enjoyed his weekly tickets and his monthly casino trips with friends. Right up until the afternoon, he added up a full year of it and saw the total. It wasn't harmless entertainment money anymore. It had quietly become a second grocery bill. So instead of quitting cold, he carved out a small, capped fun budget just for the thrill, and swept the rest into an account that actually pays him back over time. Wealthy retirees aren't against a little fun. What they refuse to do is fund their retirement on a bet the odds are guaranteed to take from them. Take even a modest amount of the money that quietly disappears into tickets and casino chips, invest it at around 7% instead, and over the years that small stream can grow into tens of thousands of dollars that are permanently yours. This is exactly where genuinely wealthy people quietly separate themselves from people who are merely trying to look wealthy. It shows up as the designer handbag, the flashy watch, the badge on the front of a car, chosen mostly so the neighbors notice it in the driveway. Study after study of real, verified millionaires lands on the same slightly uncomfortable finding. The people who actually have the most money are very often the ones spending the least on looking rich. Loud, showy spending tends to come from people stretching to project an image they can't genuinely afford. A retiree named Marcellus used to feel constant pressure to dress the part and drive the part, to signal to everyone that he'd made it. The moment he stopped caring what a stranger thought about the watch on his wrist, two things happened at once. His savings rate jumped, and so did his real net worth. Wealthy retirees have nothing left to prove to anyone in the room. They'd rather quietly own the deep freedom that real money buys than rent the appearance of it with a monthly payment. That expensive label never once paid a bill. For years, the big house made complete sense. Extra bedrooms, a big yard, room for a growing family. Then the kids move out one by one, and two people find themselves rattling around a home built for six, paying to heat and cool rooms nobody has slept in for years. A big house isn't just a bigger mortgage payment. It's a bigger property tax bill every year, higher insurance premiums, and a well-known rule that ongoing upkeep alone runs about 1% of the home's value annually, easily thousands of dollars a year just to keep the place standing. A couple named Delphine and Roland sat down, ran the honest math, and made the move so many people are too attached to make. They downsized. They pulled the equity out of a house that was quietly costing them a small fortune to maintain, dropped their taxes, utilities, and upkeep in one step, and freed up a large amount of cash to actually enjoy retirement. Wealthy retirees don't confuse a big house with a big, rich life. Every so often, the smartest thing you can buy is less house. And downsizing isn't a step down, no matter how it might feel at first. For many retirees, it turns out to be a genuine step up. Less cleaning, less maintenance, lower bills, and a comfortable cushion of freed-up equity that can fund travel or simply a calmer set of years. This last habit quietly ties the entire list together. Wealthy retirees carry a near-total allergy to carrying a balance, and the reason is simple arithmetic. The average credit card interest rate in the United States is still sitting well north of 20%. So when you finance a television or a vacation and carry that balance forward, you're no longer paying the sticker price, you're paying that price plus an ongoing tax that compounds against you silently, month after month. It's the exact mirror image of what your investments are supposed to do for you. Compounding is either the single greatest force working on your behalf or the heaviest weight dragging you under, and which direction it runs is entirely up to you. A retiree named Beatrix built one unbreakable rule and never bent it. If she can't pay for it in full this month, she doesn't buy it this month. That one sentence kept her out of the exact trap that quietly swallows so many retirement budgets. Carry a balance of just a few $1,000s, make only the minimum payment, and you can stay stuck in that debt for well over a decade, paying far more in total interest than the item ever cost. Step back and look at what all 10 of these things have in common. Not one of them is the obvious villain you were warned about. They're the normal, almost respectable purchases that slip past your attention while steadily draining the money you spent a lifetime building. A new car losing value by the day, a warranty you never use, a timeshare you can't escape, a fee quietly skimming off the top, a subscription you forgot, a bet you were always going to lose, a symbol that proves nothing, a house too big for two, and a balance quietly compounding against you. Here's what's worth sitting with. Wealthy retirees didn't reach real freedom by earning some impossible secret fortune. They got there by looking honestly at each of these and deciding, one at a time, not anymore. That's really the whole game. Before you go, out of all 10, which one hit closest to home for you? Is there one you've already walked away from, and what did it actually do for your finances once you did? Tell me in the comments. Somebody scrolling past this video is standing in the exact spot you were, and your experience might be the thing that helps them make the change. If this kind of breakdown is useful to you, subscribe. I break down exactly this kind of money thinking every week.